Hi, this is Kristen here, and welcome to another process video. And today I'm working on day 17 of 30 days of sketches with Christy's Beautiful Life. And today I'm working with the beautiful Mintay Lighthouse collection. Now this is a newer collection, came out within probably the past couple months. So anyways, I choose this worn wood as my background, and then I pick out this kind of stormy sea paper as an anchor for my pictures. And then the sketch looks like it has like some strips of paper over on the left hand side. So I end up taking parts of the back side of the stormy sea paper and cutting them into strips. So one piece is like, it was kind of like a porthole scene, and so I cut a piece that's like more like a wood piece from that scene. And then I pick the sky scene because it reminds me of the background behind my son's picture. So I end up putting that in the middle and then kind of bookending it with like a little tiny strip of the stormy sea paper. So that's the layering of paper on the left hand side. Now also on that left hand side they have from the sketch, it looks like a couple of tags there. I opt to use some ephemera pieces instead in place of the tags. And so the pictures I'm documenting are pictures of my now 11-year-old. This was, I was pregnant with my second, so this was down in Hilton Head and we were going crabbing. So it looks like a beautiful sky, like it was all clear when we went to go crabbing off this pier. And we had no sooner gotten set up to actually crab when like this huge storm blew in. We actually really didn't get to do much crabbing. We had to pretty much pack up and leave. So that's one reason why I picked that kind of like the tumultuous sea as the background behind his pictures, because that kind of is a little bit of a story behind what was happening in this picture. And if you've been to Hilton Head, you of course know the famous lighthouse. So of course I had to get some lighthouse ephemera over on the left-hand side. And now I'm just working with some different pieces here within the die cut set that you could purchase. I am not typically a Mintay ephemera. I usually don't buy their die cuts. I usually just fussy cut their paper. So I will buy their papers and then fussy cut them because they are so good for fussy cutting. They have so many different pieces to each scene and paper that I really feel like you almost don't need die cuts. But I'd never tried their die cuts out and wanted to just give them a shot and see how I liked them, and I love them. So they're very well done, very realistic looking. The graphics on them are great. So I probably will be a future die cut purchaser of Mintay from now on, and not just their papers. So anyways, I am working with the different clusters, kind of going back and forth between different pieces. Really, there was so much stuff to choose from. It was kind of, at times, kind of hard for me to choose what I wanted on this layout. So this paper was primarily very nautical themed. And so I felt like I was just going to lean really heavy into that. I did try to work in some of the florals that you see there, those maroon ones. Didn't have any maroon at all on this paper, and so I ended up deciding to not put the maroon florals in there. So they definitely will make it on a different layout because they are quite beautiful. So although I think everything Mintay puts out is just really pretty, really good graphics. Just it's really good for fussy cutting. If you're not a fussy cutter, then Mintay might not be for you, but I love fussy cutting. There's something kind of therapeutic about it for me. So and I really feel like it's a good way to structure your stash too. Like if you don't have like a lot of ephemera pieces, like you can essentially make your own die cuts by just fussy cutting. So I really enjoy fussy cutting. So still just trying to work on these clusters, get some final little pieces in there. I didn't want to do too much with each of the clusters. I was kind of trying to keep it, between 4 and 5 pieces I really liked that captain's hat up there, but I kind of felt like then it was getting to be too much up there. I tried it in a couple different spots, and again, I was trying to really not go super embellishment heavy. And I pull in these seagulls. Now I've got a seagull in each of the clusters. I end up going away from that one for some reason. I don't know if I thought that the cluster on the bottom was getting to be too big, so I had pulled the seagull off, but you will see a reappearance. Now this piece that you see me pulling in, that is a rub-on from 49 Market's Wanderlust Explorer line. I thought that the Wanderlust Explorer line would work really well with this particular Mintay line. However, I don't think that they really mesh well, simply because the Mintay line is a little bit more nautical themed, whereas the Wanderlust Explorer is more like kind of just like a general traveling kind of line. So I thought that the colors would initially work well together, but I couldn't. I had pulled out a couple different pieces. I ended up cutting that out because I couldn't really find anything to make it work. Now, I do think that the Mintay Lighthouse line might work somewhat well with the Starlight Dreams collection. So Starlight Dreams is one that came out earlier this year. It's a newer Mintay or 49 Market collection, because it's like a really dark, moody, like the papers are really like that dark and moody color. However, it does have more of like kind of like stars and kind of I guess more of like, I don't know, like kind of like dream catchers and things like that. So maybe not, but I just feel like the coloring of it, you could possibly mesh those two things if you pull off some of the nautical stuff from Mintay and use maybe more of their base paper, so kind of like this wood paper in the background, and that they do have papers that you can use that are a little bit more, don't have as many elements on it, so a little bit more of like a base type of paper. So anyways, enough rambling about that. I do want to try to pull those two lines out and see if I can create something with it. Just curious, because I feel like 49 Market and Mintay, I just feel like you could mesh those two well. I don't know if it's just the kind of the graphics, because a lot of really Mintay's die cut pieces remind me a lot of like the laser cut pieces from 49 Market, because the 49 Market laser pieces are so the graphics are so well done on them that they look really realistic, and that's the die cut pieces with Mintay. They're so realistic looking that, anyways. I just feel like they would mesh well together. Just got to try to get the papers from both lines set aside and try to see if I can do something with it. I'm kind of curious if I can make something work. Anywho. And so I've gotten the rub-ons on. I've started putting the clusters down. Now I do pop up pieces on foam. As you see, like the bottle and the middle cluster, I did pop that up on foam. The compass and the ship in a bottle on the bottom, I popped up on foam. Each of the seagulls I pop up on foam. So just to give it more of a 3D effect. And on top of that, if you are layering pieces on top of each other, sometimes you do need, like a little bit of foam. Or, you could always, if you don't have foam, you could always like cut little pieces out from like scrap paper that you have and just adhere it behind it, just to give a little bit more layering, so that way you can make sure stuff's sitting more flat. I did end up doing another rub-on up there. I put it on the ephemera piece with the book and the binoculars. I couldn't really find a spot up there to make it work with that dark paper, and there wasn't enough room really with that strip of white that's poking out to really make it look good. So there's the seagull for the bottom cluster finally has made an appearance. So And so I get that popped up on foam and put it down, and then I'm popping up the top one on foam. And so I really wanted a title on here. That's my only gripe with Mintay, is there's just not, you're not gonna, they don't have like wordy pieces or pieces that you could like use for titles. So you're either gonna have to use alphas or, cut something off on Cricut. So I did end up pulling out the chipboard pieces from Wanderlust Explorer and chose these two pieces. I felt like they made a really good title. So the one says memories and the other one says take only memories, leave only footprints. And I thought that was a perfect title. Now, I usually would have centered up memories in the middle of the wood piece there, but because the other part of the title, and here comes my big head to check alignment. Anyways, since the bottom part of the title was longer, I wanted the memories to kind of be centered up in the middle of that piece. So that's the reason why I kind of chose to put that where it's at. And then I'll actually end up adding some journaling later onto this just to kind of talk about what we were doing there, because, it doesn't really explain it or show it in the picture. I mean, he's holding a big net, but, it really doesn't say much other than that. So here are some close-up shots. This turned out so cute. I really love anything Mintay. It's just such good graphics. Here are some close-up pictures. And I appreciate you coming by to watch another process video. Please like and subscribe. I really appreciate any support. And I'll see you next time.